Truly, thoughts are things, and powerful things at that. That's quite a statement, isn't it?
It really is, and it's straight from the book we're diving into today, the classic Think and Grow Rich.
Exactly. And if you've ever felt, you know, kind of overwhelmed by information but still want the core ideas, well, you're in the right place for this deep dive.
Yeah, absolutely. This isn't a book you just skim through like a novel. Dr. Miller Reese Hutchison, who worked with Edison, actually called it a textbook on individual achievement.
A textbook. Wow.
Yeah, he said you need to study, digest, and meditate upon it. And think about this. The author, Napoleon Hill, spent 25 years researching over 25,000 successful people.
25,000.
Yep. Just trying to figure out, how wealthy men become that way.
So our mission today is basically to pull out the most important bits for you, give you a shortcut to understanding this philosophy.
And it's not just about money, right? It's for achieving pretty much any definite goal you set your mind to.
Right. Making it accessible, making it actionable for you. Okay, let's get into it. The foundation, the big idea that kicks everything off. Thoughts are things. But it's not just any random thought, is it? It's when thoughts get mixed with definiteness of purpose, persistence, and a burning desire.
That burning desire part is huge. And the story of Edwin C. Barnes and Thomas Edison really nails this.
Oh, yeah. Tell us about that.
Well, Barnes didn't just want to work for Edison. No, his burning desire was to work with him as a business associate.
Okay, big difference.
Huge. And think about the obstacles. He didn't know Edison, had zero connections, and get this, no money for the train fare to New Jersey.
So how did he even get there?
He traveled, believe it or not, by what the book calls blind baggage on a freight train. Just hopped on.
Wow.
Yeah. And Edison himself later remembered Barnes just showing up, standing there, saying he was going into business with him. That's like the sheer power of a focused, burning desire.
That's an amazing picture, Barnes just appearing. So, okay, this burning desire, how do we translate that for your goals listening right now? The book gives these 6 definite practical steps.
Right. And they're less about finance, really, and more about mental engineering. Applies to anything.
Okay, break them down for us.
First, you got to fix in your mind the exact amount of money or the precise goal, no fuzziness.
Be specific. Got it.
Second, figure out exactly what you'll give in return. The book's clear. Nothing for nothing.
Makes sense.
Third, set a definite date. When will you have it? Fourth, create a definite plan, and this is key. Start immediately. Don't wait.
No procrastination. Okay.
Fifth, write it all down. A clear statement. The desire, the amount or goal, the date, what you'll give.
Write it down. Physical act.
And the 6th step, which Hill says is absolutely crucial, read that statement aloud. Twice a day, morning and night. And really see and feel yourself already having achieved it.
Feel it, like it's already happened.
Exactly. And the beauty is, these steps, they don't require hard labor or sacrifice or, a fancy education.
And they came from Andrew Carnegie, approved by Edison. That adds some weight.
It really does. Shows they're grounded in real-world results.
So that last step, the visualizing and feeling, that connects directly to this idea of faith, right? The book says faith is a state of mind which may be induced by autosuggestion. That sounds intense.
It does, but what's powerful is how the book sort of demystifies faith. It's not some magical thing you either have or don't. It's presented as a state of mind you can actually cultivate.
Okay, how? What's autosuggestion in this context? Just thinking positive.
It's deeper than just positive thinking. Faith here is like the catalyst, the thing that turns a regular thought into its spiritual equivalent. It's described as the only agency to tap into what Hill calls infinite intelligence.
Infinite intelligence, like a universal wisdom.
Kind of, yeah. Or maybe your own deep intuition. The core idea is that you start to genuinely believe whatever you keep telling yourself, whether it's true yet or not. Your dominant thoughts literally shape you.
So you're kind of programming your subconscious.
Exactly. And the key is emotion. You have to feel it, emotionalize those instructions you give yourself. That makes them stick. It's like setting your internal GPS.
Okay, so you've got the burning desire, you're building faith through this autosuggestion, but then, inevitably, you hit roadblocks. What then?
Persistence. Simple as that.
Simple but hard.
Definitely hard. Hill says lack of persistence is one of the major causes of failure. It's common, but he insists it may be overcome by effort.
And that effort comes back to the desire.
Absolutely. It depends on the intensity of one's desire. If the desire is strong enough, you'll find the persistence. The book is emphatic. No substitute for persistence.
And it brings insurance against failure.
How? Because it teaches you that every failure brings with it the seed of an equivalent advantage. You start seeing setbacks not as stops, but as detours with hidden lessons, fuel to keep going.
The book uses a really surprising example for persistence. The story of Muhammad. That might feel like a tricky connection for some listeners.
It might, yeah. But Hill uses it to show a universal principle in action, regardless of the specific context.
So what's the core lesson from that story?
It's about persistence against just staggering odds. Muhammad, as the source tells it, had no formal schooling, started his mission at 40, was ridiculed, called a lunatic, banished, followers lost everything.
Sounds like total failure for a long time.
For 10 years, basically nothing to show for it but banishment, poverty, and ridicule. But then in the next 10 years, he becomes this incredibly powerful figure.
What drove that turnaround, according to the book?
Well, Hill points to things like the power of words, the efficacy of prayer, and man's kinship with God. He mentions the impact of the Quran, and also the political heresy of his message of equality, which angered the establishment.
So the universal takeaway is
that unwavering persistence, fueled by a powerful vision, even when everything seems lost, can create monumental change. It's the force of an idea meeting an unshakable will.
Okay, so we have desire, faith, persistence, the inner game. But how do these ideas actually, take form in action? Where does the planning happen?
In the imagination. The book calls it the workshop of the mind.
The workshop, I like that.
Yeah, it's where all plans created by man get fashioned. And Hill says something really bold. Man's only limitation within reason lies in his development and use of his imagination.
So we limit ourselves.
Pretty much. He talks about two types. Synthetic imagination, that's like rearranging old ideas into new combos, use a lot for making money. And then creative imagination, that's more like flashes of insight, inspiration.
And you can strengthen both.
Yep, like a muscle. They become more alert with use. The more you use your imagination, the better it gets.
Ideas, the book says, are the beginning points of all fortunes. And for a massive example of this, you mentioned the creation of U.S. Steel.
Oh yeah, it's an epic story. Hill calls U.S. Steel the billion-dollar baby, literally born in the mind of Charles M. Schwab in the form of an idea he created through his imagination.
Just an idea. How did it happen?
Picture this. December 1900, a fancy dinner at the University Club. 80 financial titans, including the J.P. Morgan. Schwab, this young man from out of the West, is supposed to give a speech. Morgan's planning to leave early.
Doesn't sound promising.
Right. But Schwab gives this 90-minute speech described as homely, maybe not perfectly grammatical, but galvanic. It completely captivated them. Morgan stayed. Others had tried to pitch Morgan on a steel trust before, like Gates, the Moore brothers, even Albert Gary.
But they failed.
Yeah. Morgan wasn't impressed. But Schwab's idea was different. He painted this vision of the future of steel, reorganization, efficiency, specialization, scrapping bad mills, economies, capturing foreign markets. He was talking modern mass production.
And he argued against monopolies raising prices.
Exactly. He condemned that as short-sightedness, said they should cheapen steel to create an ever-expanding market. Revolutionary thinking then.
But the key piece for Morgan was Carnegie, right?
That was the clincher. Schwab basically implied, without quite promising, that he could bring Andrew Carnegie's massive company into the fold. Morgan knew, as the book says, a trust without Carnegie was no trust at all, a plum pudding without the plums.
Love that. So what happened next?
Intense secret talks. Schwab played it cool, met Morgan at the Bellevue Hotel, then finally at Morgan's library. He laid out these 6 sheets of copperplate figures showing the numbers. Morgan apparently never questioned them.
Just accepted Schwab's figures.
Seems so. Then Morgan asked the big question, do you think you can persuade Andrew Carnegie to sell? Schwab says simply, I can try.
Gutsy.
Totally. And Morgan says, if you can get him to sell, I will undertake the matter. So Schwab goes and plays golf with Carnegie in January, convinces him to retire.
Just like that, over golf.
Well, the groundwork was laid. Carnegie asks for around $400 million, which, funnily enough, Carnegie later told Morgan, I wish I had asked you for $100 million more.
And what did Morgan say?
Apparently, Morgan just cheerfully replied, if you had asked for it, you'd have gotten it.
Incredible. And the result?
Morgan's syndicate made $62 million on the deal. Schwab became president of the new U.S. Steel until 1930. It's just this massive example of idea, imagination, faith, planning, persistence, all coming together.
That really is a masterclass.
Yeah.
Now, the book doesn't just talk about creating billion-dollar corporations. It applies these ideas to something much more personal, right? Marketing your own services.
Absolutely. And this is where Hill talks about a fundamental shift. He says, jobs are now partnerships. The whole mindset has to change.
Partnerships? How so?
It's about moving from the old rule of gold, whoever has the gold makes the rules, to the golden rule. Treat others as you want to be treated. Because, he argues, the real employer of the future will be the public.
So customer service becomes paramount.
Exactly. He gives examples of the old public be damned attitude that failed. Rude ticket agents, argumentative conductors, stuffy bankers behind big doors, grumpy meter readers.
We've all met those.
Right. And contrasts it with the new way. Polite bus drivers, open plan banks, courteous stores, friendly meter readers, service matters. He even uses the coal industry's decline as an example, saying greed from both sides drove customers to oil.
So it comes back to that principle.
Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Hill felt the Depression was caused by people trying to reap without sowing, trying to get without giving value.
Okay, so for you listening, how do you apply this idea of giving value in your own career? The book has this QQS formula.
Right, QQS. It stands for quality, quantity, and spirit of service.
Quality, quantity, spirit. Let's break that down.
Quality is about doing your work really well. Every detail. Always aiming for more efficiency, more excellence.
Okay, strive for the best.
Quantity is the habit of rendering all the service of which you are capable. Giving your all consistently and getting better through practice.
Go the extra mile.
And spirit is the habit of agreeable, harmonious conduct. Basically, being pleasant to work with, fostering cooperation.
Harmony. That sounds like Carnegie's influence again.
It is. The source says Carnegie insisted on it. He apparently wouldn't keep anyone, no matter how good their work quality or quantity, if they didn't work in a spirit of harmony.
So attitude is crucial.
Hugely. Hill says a pleasing personality can even make up for some shortcomings in quality or quantity, but nothing can be successfully substituted for pleasing conduct. Your attitude is non-negotiable for success.
And this QQS idea feeds directly into how you market yourself, like when applying for a job.
Precisely. The book suggests treating a job application like a legal case. You prepare a complete brief.
A brief, like a lawyer.
Exactly. A detailed outline of your qualifications, education, experience, references with actual copies of letters, even a recent photo.
Wow, that's thorough.
And crucially, you apply for a specific position. No vague, I'll take anything. You state exactly what you want and why you are qualified for that particular job.
Requires research then.
Absolutely. You need knowledge of your prospective employer's business. Shows you're genuinely interested, shows imagination.
And how you present it matters too.
Immensely. Neatly typed or mimeographed on the finest paper, bound nicely with the personalized cover, like brief of the qualifications of your name, applying for the position of specific role. The book literally says, your Bruce is your salesman, give it a good suit of clothes.
Yeah, that's great advice.
And the payoff. Hill claims this approach can shave from 1 to 5 years off, reaching your goal and get you higher starting pay. It's about making an irresistible case for yourself.
Okay, this is all powerful stuff. But the book warns that before you can really use this philosophy, your mind must be prepared. You need to clear out some negativity.
Yes, what it calls the unholy trio. Indecision, doubt, and fear.
Unholy trio. Why are they so bad?
Because they're insidious. Hill explains indecision is the seedling of fear. It starts small, then it crystallizes into doubt, and then doubt and indecision merge and just become fear.
And you might not even notice it happening.
Exactly. They germinate and grow without their presence being observed. They just subtly paralyze you.
So the book identifies specific fears we need to tackle, the 6 basic fears.
That's right. And the key thing to remember is that Hill insists they are nothing more than states of mind, and they are subject to control and direction. You can manage them.
Okay, what are the 6?
First, and he calls it the most destructive, is the fear of poverty. It paralyzes reason, kills imagination, destroys self-reliance, its symptoms, indifference, indecision, doubt, worry, overcaution, procrastination. Poverty itself, he notes, brings suffering and humility.
That one sounds deep-rooted.
Very. He links it to our tendency to prey on each other economically. Second is the fear of criticism. That stops so many people from even trying.
Yeah, fear of what others think.
Third, fear of ill health. Often leads to hypochondria, imagining illnesses. Interestingly, he notes doctors don't fear disease as much and seem less susceptible. Symptoms include negative self-talk, obsessing over health, avoiding exercise, self-coddling, even intemperance.
Okay.
Fourth, fear of loss of love of someone. Fifth is the fear of old age, often tied to fear of poverty in old age, or maybe false ideas about aging, losing attractiveness.
And last one.
Fear of death. These 6, Hill argues, are the big ones holding us back, but they're mental habits we can change.
But there's even a 7th basic evil, worse than those 6.
Yeah, he calls it susceptibility to negative influences. And this is critical, he states flatly. Men who accumulate great riches always protect themselves against this evil. The poverty-stricken never do.
So it's about guarding your mind, building mental defenses.
Exactly. Consciously shielding yourself from negativity, whether it's from people, news, or your own internal critic. It's proactive mental hygiene.
And to fight all this, the fears, the negativity, the book recommends annual self-analysis. That old advice, man, know thyself.
Right. And it means being really honest with yourself. Using questions, the book provides a list of 28 to really dig deep. You have to be, as the source says, both the court and the jury, the prosecuting attorney and the attorney for the defense.
Brutally honest, then.
But constructive. The goal isn't to beat yourself up. It's to find weaknesses so you can work on them. Ensure a decrease in faults and an increase in virtues. Continuous self-improvement.
Now, the book gets into something interesting here about why men seldom succeed before 40. It connects this to sex transmutation and the 6th sense. How does that fit?
It's one of the more, let's say, unique parts of the book, but the underlying idea is about energy management. Hill observed that major success often came later, 40s, 50s, even 60s.
Why so late?
His theory was that before then, people tend to dissipate their energies through overindulgence and physical drives. The art of sex transmutation sounds maybe a bit dated now, but the core idea is timeless. Recognizing that powerful, primal energy drive, passion, ambition, and learning to consciously redirect it. Channeling it away from purely physical release into creative work, sales enthusiasm, focus, building something.
So harnessing your strongest drives for your goals.
Precisely. And this skill, often learned between 30 and 40, brings, according to the book, calmness of purpose, poise, accuracy of judgment, and balance, especially when deep emotion like love gets involved.
And the 6th sense, the finishing point of achievement.
This is described as something usually developed after 40 or 50 through real meditation, self-examination, and serious thought.
It's not psychic power, really. It's more like developing a deep, intuitive wisdom.
An intuition that guides you.
Yes. It leads to profound understanding of self, understanding of others, understanding of the laws of nature, recognition and understanding of happiness. It's that final layer of wisdom that makes success truly meaningful.
Okay, so we have these principles. Where does the book say they find the best soil to grow? It points specifically to America, doesn't it? It does, very strongly. Hill emphasizes the unlimited freedom in the U.S. as the ideal environment. Freedom of thought, education, religion, politics, business, owning property, choosing where to live, who to marry, equal opportunity.
A long list.
Yeah. And crucially, the freedom to aim for any station in life for which we have prepared ourselves. He really frames America as this land of unparalleled opportunity for applying his philosophy.
And he argues that organized capital is the foundation, the engine making it all possible.
Right. And here, we need to be clear, the book presents a very specific and maybe for modern ears, a somewhat controversial viewpoint, especially given it was written during the Depression.
Okay, what's the argument?
Hill uses a simple breakfast tea from China, sugar from Cuba, to show how organized capital, the machines, ships, trains, skilled workers, makes everyday life possible. He goes further, calling capitalists the brains of civilization, providing the very fabric of progress.
That's a strong statement.
It is. And he directly criticizes those who attacked Wall Street, the money changers, and big business back then, calling them soapbox orators, radicals, racketeers, and so on. He claims their rhetoric actually prolonged the worst depression.
So it's important we note this is clearly the author's perspective from that time.
Absolutely. We're relaying the source's viewpoint here, not endorsing it. His core argument is this is a capitalistic country. Neither riches nor opportunity would be available to us if organized capital had not provided these benefits. That's a stated belief.
And this ties into what he calls the law of economics.
Yes. This law, he says, is fundamental. It dictates that No system has ever been created by which men can legally acquire riches through mere force of numbers, or without giving in return an equivalent value. You can't just take.
So value for value.
Exactly. He claims this law is far more powerful than all the politicians, and it keeps a perfect scorecard on everyone trying to get without giving. He even warns against trying to force wages up and hours down beyond a certain point, saying the law of economics will inevitably step in.
So the bottom line, according to Hill, is
That capitalistic America ensures every person the opportunity to render useful service and to collect riches in proportion to the value of the service. But, critically, it cannot promise something for nothing. A direct message about reciprocal value.
beyond economics. The book really hammers home the power of decision, doesn't it? Making bold choices.
Immensely powerful. Hill uses big historical examples. Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, Socrates choosing poison, General Lee's decisions.
Monumental choices.
But he saves the biggest for Americans. The Declaration of Independence, July 4th, 1776. 56 men signing, knowing they could be hanged. That was a decision.
Risking everything.
But he also highlights something less famous, but maybe even more crucial that came before it. The Boston Incident, March 5, 1770. John Hancock and Samuel Adams made the dangerous decision to demand British soldiers leave.
Samuel Adams, he was key.
Huge. When the governor tried to bribe him, Adams famously replied something like, "I trust I have long since made my peace with the King of Kings. No personal consideration shall induce me to abandon the righteous cause of my country." Total conviction.
Wow.
That defiance led to a secret meeting where Adams basically locked the door and forced a decision to create a Continental Congress. That led to the First Continental Congress in September 1774. Hill actually calls that date more important than July 4, 1776 because it enabled the Declaration.
So the decision to unite came first.
Exactly. That was the mastermind principle, emerging collective, decisive action, an unstoppable force born from a shared decision.
Okay, we've covered so much ground. Stepping back from this deep dive into Think and Grow Rich, what really resonates with you, it feels like much more than just a get-rich book.
Oh, absolutely. It's really a blueprint for life, designed, as it says, to help you unerringly guide themselves in attaining whatever they ask of life. What stands out is how interconnected it all is.
Right, it's a system.
Yeah. Like the book summarizes, money must be wooed and won by methods not unlike those used by a determined lover. It needs that mix. Faith mixed with desire, mixed with persistence, applied through a plan, and that plan must be set into action. You need all the pieces working together.
So for everyone listening, after hearing all this, what definite goal are you aiming for? Maybe it's clear now, maybe not. But think about it. And which part of this philosophy feels like the right starting point for you?
Is it igniting that burning desire? Is it building unwavering faith and persistence? Maybe tackling those fears head on, or really focusing on the QQS of your service?
Lots to consider.
And as you think about that, here's one last powerful idea from the source to leave you with. There are no limitations to the mind except those we acknowledge. Both poverty and riches are the offspring of thought.